No time. Hey, we're live. Oof. I just realized I forgot to put in my new router. So, I figured I'd jump on, do a quick live. I bought a new router just in case, because I've been having streaming problems. I will let you know if this actually is any good. I've always meaning to test this tonight. But, so yeah, this was recommended to me by the nerds. Powerful nerds said this is the one. I don't know. We'll see. I have a pretty old router. I've been having streaming problems. After about 20 minutes, the whole thing starts to tank. So, all right. So I got a bunch of announcements today. One announcement I think is exciting for me at least. So I hope it's going to be exciting for you guys. I don't know how many people are on now. If you're on, go to the chat and say hello from, there you go. Hey, from the UK. Tell me from what region of the world you are chiming in from, you're watching from. So, Michael, what part of the world are you coming from, Michael? Baraturakis. I'm assuming you're Greek? I don't know. So let me know. I'm just Texas. That's good. Hi, Madame Zorbas. She is Greek from Toronto, I think. Texas. Sheridan, Wyoming. How you doing? I'm doing pretty good. How are you, Satero? Tell me where you guys are from. No, I love doing the live streams. Don't worry about that. If I had nothing else to do, if I didn't have a business to run, I'd just be live streaming all the time. It's a lot of fun for me. I discovered late in life that I come from a family of teachers, including my father, and I just like teaching. Go figure. But I also like just hanging out with everybody. Hello from Houston. Very cool. Brazil. International Nerd Festival here. Denver, Mexico, San Diego, greetings, Las Vegas, Brooklyn. Very cool. I heard Brooklyn, you guys might be actually opening up your economy, strangely enough. So very soon. Nashville, Tennessee. Germany, I believe that flag is, right? Correct me if I'm wrong, SkyServe. Gotham City. Mauritania. Where's that Mauritania? My apologies, Metropolis. Milwaukee. Very cool. Very cool. So we got a few people coming on board. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump into the subject at hand, and then people, if you could, people they can watch the replay if they missed the beginning. So I got this question put to me again, so I figured I would address it, and then I got some news. What do I do for a living? I think that's pretty clear. I run Studioweb. It's a SaaS, software as a service. That's one of the things I do. That schools use to teach code. Just go to studioweb.com. You see what it is. But I do a bunch of other stuff as well. I actually have interest in different businesses. I finished your Python course. What next? Web dev course. Thanks. Awesome program. Cool. Well, thanks for picking up the course. Congratulations on finishing the Python. I would go into the web dev because I designed my whole curriculum from the web dev to Python and even the freelancing and entrepreneurship to be kind of like a continuum to financial freedom, nerd cash. When you do the web dev stuff and you do the JavaScript and the PHP, you'll be learning two other programming languages along with Python. And then when you compare and contrast that with the Python, you're going to get a very deep knowledge of all the languages. Nepal, wow, that's crazy. Crazy. I love people from all over the world. Fantastic. How important is learning embedded dev in 2021? If there's work, take it, Yamamoto Isoroku. Hello from Montreal. Are you hiring? Adrien Filardeau Planche, excusez-moi. Thomas Hampton. All right. I think it will become more specialized instead of general. That's usually what happens when an industry saturates. Yeah, you're going to see it's going to shift. Like it's shifted quite a bit. Like web development design now is very different from what it was in 1996. Although, as I've said many times, since about 2012, it's really stabilized. You saw a huge rate of change over the years. This is the rate of change. And then in around 2012, it really plateaued quite a bit. And that's the normal progression in any industry. Houston, very cool. Do you think I should start with algorithms? No, I think you should just start with basics of code and then start actually building real things. Sup, how you going? Hologram, what's going on? That's the official nerd salute, right? What computer science jobs require a lot of math? Some AI, and that's about it. I've written software for huge multinationals, three, lots of small companies, and I've never had to use anything much more than basic arithmetic, multiply, divide, add, subtract. The occasional time when I had to use like a little bit more complex stuff, you just implement a class, implement a library that somebody else has written for you. Yeah, I would imagine so. Embedded is probably not good for... Well, we'd have to see about that. I know New York food is really good, though. Oof, I've been down there. I'm from Montreal, which is north of New York. Very similar in many respects. I get overwhelmed thinking about starting a business. I have 2 years of web dev experience. You should take my entrepreneur course. I get into all those details. All right, let me just jump into the subject. Hello from London, UK. And then we'll continue with the chat. What do we do every time? Okay, so somebody asked, is the inflow of all these new developers, all these new coders, they were specifically concerned about the third world, the so-called third world, which is just becoming, everything's starting to even out now, which is good, fantastic. Is this mean in 10 years there's going to be a shortage of jobs? Well, first of all, I don't have a crystal ball, so it's hard for me to tell. That being said, the trends of today and the latest data that I have seen shows that, yes, there's a lot more developers. These are developers coming on board, and these are coders. The problem is there's a lot more coding jobs growing faster than the developers getting into the industry. So yeah, there's a lot more developers, but the amount of jobs is increasing even faster thus far. So the trend that I've seen and what people predict, there are going to be hardly any coders. And it was, in fact, a political issue. It still is in the U.S. in terms of high-tech companies not being able to hire people easily, so they want to bring in people from overseas. So there's a battle for all that. Also remember that when you have a lot of countries that are coming up, China, India are already big, and Bangladesh, and so many others, the need, and you throw in COVID into the mix, the need for IT solutions, for software development, it's just going to increase over time. It's just going to increase, okay? Is learning low-level stuff important? I assume you're thinking like C or assembler. No, only if you need to do that kind of coding, right? Only if you need to do that kind of coding. Work on what you need to do. If you want to do web stuff, then do web stuff. If you want to do back-end, do back-end. If you want to do front-end, front-end, et cetera, et cetera. If you want to do low-level system programming, then go do that. That's the thing that I would suggest. What do you think about blockchain and Solidity programming languages and future prospects? I think blockchain does have a future. I like the tech. I think blockchain is good. I think it has its use cases. I like the idea of a decentralized distributed system for many, many reasons. And I think it's just going to be, but I think it's going to be a niche technology, but important. Niche, but important. I don't think it's going to go away because, I don't think it's going to go away. So yeah, it's probably a good thing. What would you say the field of networking for the future? Dying out? Yeah, I would shy away from networking because for the most part, these things are pretty good. I just bought this because I'm having streaming problems. I think it could be that my old router, which is 6-7 years old. But generally speaking, networking is not what it used to be. People used to have entire businesses just by running RJ45 cables through people's houses and buildings. Now they just set up a couple of routers, and some nodes, and Bob's your uncle. So I would not be going into that. What do you need to learn to become a data architect? I would just pick up a good book. That's an example of a good book, assuming you know how to create databases, you know the basic rules, you know normalization, that kind of stuff. I'm talking about relational databases. Then I would get into the weeds of that. I used to be deep into the weeds of that at one point because database design is so important for applications. That said, I would also look at NoSQL as well. As people know, I think SQL-based databases are used most of the time. They're the appropriate choice for most apps. If you have an application that maintains reasonably complex relationships between different discrete pieces of data, then a relational database is where you want to go. If you're just keeping a bunch of raw data where you don't really need to track relationships, then you might go at NoSQL. All right. I love the word niche. Yeah. Watching from Jersey. Very cool. Very cool. Should I learn JavaScript or then move to PHP? I want to learn both. Just pick one and go for it, man. You know, because the second one is going to be much easier. Networking with cloud and automation. Okay, you mean more modern stuff. I haven't looked at those jobs, but again, that kind of infrastructure type of work, setting up those infrastructures, like you see, like just in the last few years, AWS services are becoming more sophisticated in terms that you don't have to be an evil scientist to be able to use them now, apparently. You used to. Even DigitalOcean, another one. We use DigitalOcean for some of our hosting. Very little now, but they've upgraded. They put a nice layer, an abstraction layer on top of their raw hosting, so you don't necessarily have to run your servers anymore. They realize, DigitalOcean and other cloud services, that the developers shouldn't have to maintain a server infrastructure. They should just have to write their apps, right? So that's where I think that's going, if that makes anything. Is your site down? It says address unreachable. Well, we'll see if you're trolling me or not. I'll take a quick look. And no, it is not down. It is not down. Good try. Good try. Yeah, so, yeah, let's get back to, where am I? Where's my, oh, there it is, sorry. All right, so let's get back to some of the Q&A. So, the site is not down. You find many systems looking good, bad, but sell well. No one sees the low. Exactly. That's a very good point there. Something I've been trying to suggest to people, that what separates success or failure in an app is really the core value that the app provides, what it does, whether people are interested in the service of the app, and how easy it works and how good it looks. If the code behind the scenes to make all this happen is a bloody mess, that won't dictate its success or failure initially. That will just make it much more expensive to maintain and keep. But apps, especially in the first few years, any SaaS business will have a lot of iterations, a lot of changes that it has to go through. Before I forget, let me just get into this real quick. Now, I launched this, who's this guy here? I launched this newsletter a while back, and I've been just so busy, I haven't been sending out newsletters. I just started sending out my newsletter today. And now, because I got all this work behind me and I don't see a big load of work hitting me anytime soon, I'm going to be building up this newsletter with exclusive content, etc. So you go to need2nerd.com, sign up. Don't worry, I won't spam. If you're lucky, you'll get two a week, maybe 3, probably 2. Exclusive content I will not put anywhere else. The reason I'm doing this is I just want to have direct contact with you guys. You don't want to be dependent on any outside third-party platform. That's it. So you get exclusive content, mostly video, maybe other stuff, maybe some video and some article stuff, and other bonuses as well, and appreciation for you joining. So it's just need2nerd.com. Anyway, it's free. I just want to have direct contact with my audience, and I think everybody would understand that makes sense. So yeah, so go to need2nerd.com. Let's see, where do you foresee as a trajectory for full stack developer? I see that that's just continuing. That's this one of the safest of the coding or developer jobs, simply because I think that besides the fact that you got traditional websites and web apps are served by that profession, but you also have more and more companies moving towards cross-platform solutions that are web-based. PWA is an example, or just building responsive websites rather than building native mobile, because native mobile is very expensive. You got to build it all for Android. You got to build it all for iOS. Ça coûte cher. It's very expensive, as they say. Also, when you do PWA-based business, you don't have to give a kickback to the Apple guys in their store, because you don't need your app to be on their store, and you don't need to be on the Android store, and people can still get a very much rich, thick client type of experience with PWA. And that technology is only getting better and better and better and better and better, and it's all web-based. And the phones that people have are just getting faster and faster and faster and faster. So the advantage of native mobile is diminishing every year, and making PWA and cross-platform solutions much more interesting. Yeah, so there you go. Even desktop now is done with web tech. So I would just say you're in a good situation. You're doing web stuff, you're fine, dude. All right, we'll see what I have to say. Hello to the man who helped me imprint deep into my brain the difference between functions and methods. Respects, man. Good. Glad I could help. That's it. It's all in the basics. That's why. What is your opinion about graduate degree in comp sci? If it's free and or very inexpensive, and you want to have maximum opportunity in terms of working for larger organizations, then sure. If your goal is to be an entrepreneur or to freelance, it's not important at all. Okay? Hey, Mr. Voodoo, Montreal, bonjour. J'espère tout que ça va bien. I'm glad you're inside. You don't want to get the big tickets. We're now in curfew up here in Montreal. Can't go outside. If your cat runs out after 8 o'clock, too bad. Cat's dead. Is it important to learn cloud computing for front-end developers? No, not at all. Just learn the basics of it. What's it about? So that you just understand conceptually, and then you can decide. That's a need to nerd tech. You use it if something comes up. Owen, greetings from Texas, Stefan. Greetings from Montreal. How can you get the information from a programming language like Java to stick in your head? You write a lot of code. I think I find the information overwhelming sometimes. Thank you. Yeah, you just got to write the code, man. You just got to write the code. Frequency, I got to put that out on my, you know what? I'm going to do that on my newsletter sign up. I'm going to have a private collection of videos on my, for my Need to Nerd newsletter. And it'll be a private Vimeo collection. And that's one of the videos I'm going to put in there. Ad-free, by the way, no ads. Where I'll teach you how to, the main tools of learning quickly. Anyway, there we go. Yeah, Texas. I have business in Texas, and I have a partner, and we haven't been able to go down there since COVID, but I might have to go down there. I've been putting it off. We've been putting it off since COVID. But I think I might be heading down to the States, and yeah, because enough is enough. We'll have to see. Would you recommend a person to do a computer science degree if they're not good in math? Yeah, they may, yeah. You have to look at your end goal. What's your end goal with that? As I said, it depends on the type of work you want to do. I just spoke to that. They're going to force you to do math, though, which is a shame because most programming, there's not much math involved these days. What web hosts you recommend for beginner developers to practice HTML? Any web host, inexpensive. You can use one of the sponsor my channel. You buy hosting from them, you get to pick any of my courses for free from me. So you go with them, not expensive. Any hosting's fine. What are your thoughts on solar energy? I think solar energy is a good need to nerd energy, meaning energy that it's good to have, but it's kind of like a sideline energy. It's not yet, depending on where you live, it's not yet, like up here in Montreal and Quebec where it snows and snowy and dark. Solar helps a bit, but it's not going to be enough. Fortunately, I think Quebec has the most electricity or the cheapest electricity in the world because we have huge hydroelectric dams. What are we going to have too many devs? What are we going to have? When? I don't know. long time from now, I would imagine. It's just the economy and the structure of a society is favorable to the need of developers, the need for developers. If that makes any sense. Yeah. So learn Python 2 months. Yes, you can. Basic Python, you can. I know 13 programming languages. Congratulations. How to remain versatile, employable, sought after throughout one's career. Good communication skills. Good communication skills. Once you have your fundamentals and so you're able to pivot from one tech to the other, one language to the other, which you should be able to do pretty quickly if you get a good base in your fundamentals. What's going to make you best is having very good soft skills, communication skills. You get along with people, you can communicate requirements with people. I appreciate WebSS. Signed up, smart man. So I'll be putting only for the newsletter content and probably for the mentoring group only content that will be on the newsletter. What tips would you recommend to a computer science student and why? Do a little bit every day. The key to learning how to code is writing code. It's like the key to learning how to fight is you fight. Key to learning how to do anything is actually doing the real thing. Don't get caught up in academics. Don't get caught up in things like code competitions and stuff like that. Just do the real thing, dude. So frequency of exposure is very important. So you just want to write code every day, even if it's just for 20 minutes. Wasn't Troy, might be my internet connection. I assume you meant Studioweb, right? Because I just went there and it's honky-dory. So if I go, hold on. How are we? Yeah, can we reload? Yeah, if we go, sorry. So here's the website. Go to the blog. See, it's working. It's not on my servers, right? It's on another server, right? Anyway, sorry about that. Did you ever have a chance to work with VBA? Yes, I did. If so, did you have any advice with VBA? I suppose you mean Visual Basic for applications. Yeah, I did a little bit for Excel automation in the past, back in the 90s. And I did a lot of VB scripting when I was doing classic ASP. It's good. It's good. Is becoming a developer a good job for life? I know several people who've done it. They're close to retirement. What will the impact of ARM-based PCs for development? Good question. I did a video recently, and I think that the new ARM chips are a game changer. In fact, in full disclosure, I put a bunch more cash into Apple investments. I think I saw that. I said, woo, that's pretty good stuff. I think Apple's ARM-based technology, if you don't know, it's a CPU that runs very cool yet very fast and uses very little energy. So, for example, Apple's first generation of their CPU, for the laptop anyway, it's very powerful, and you can run, I think they've done tests where it runs like 30 hours. You can play movies on a laptop, a small laptop for 30 hours. And it's very powerful in terms of crunching numbers, extremely powerful. So I think it's the future. I think that's going to have a huge impact in terms of bringing down server cost, because these chips are very powerful, yet they don't use much energy. They use like a fifth or a sixth of the energy requirements of traditional CPUs, x86 CPUs. That's why Intel is niche. And I think it's going to have an impact in terms of AI. AI is very expensive in terms of CPU cycles, right? So these chips, I don't know if the calculation stacks when the chips are aligned perfectly AI, but I would imagine they will make AI processing much, much cheaper. So you're going to get things done a lot more quickly. So yeah, that's my thinking about that. So if, like, my next machine is going to be an M1, an ARM-based hardware, 100%. Just for the battery life, you know. AWS EC2 is smartly easy to use. There you go. There you go. Yeah, I remember we were looking at it a few years ago. It was like a disaster. Now, even though it was extremely powerful, I was blown away by the technology. It takes out a lot of complexity that we used to have to deal with as developers, especially when it comes to scaling. It's really cool stuff. But it's just going to get easier and easier and easier, where it's going to become a non-issue, a no-brainer. Every programmer self-taught. Yeah, to a certain extent, I would agree with that statement. Sorry about that. I was on Infinity Wi-Fi. Man, no worries about it. No worries. Thanks for checking out. Thanks for letting me know, too. It would have been a useful tip. Hey, Stefan, I have ADHD anxiety. How do I overcome mental illness as a programmer? All right, my Lizard Wizard course is going to be useful, but let me give you a quick tip. That anxiety is because your hindbrain, your lower brain, your lizard brain, and they actually call it a lizard brain science, is overactive. It's hyperactive. It's out of control. And the lizard brain, its programming, it's part of your brain. Its programming is designed first and foremost to protect you from being killed, right? Think about it. Think about this in evolutionary terms. So by nature, all of our lizard brains, not just yours, all of our lizard brains are programmed, as in software, to look for any threats. And it actually, and it's been proven, they have actually measured this, to magnify potential threats. So think about all the anxieties everybody you have. I'm talking to everybody. Think about all the anxieties you have, and then nothing happens. And then new anxieties come in. Oh my God, is this going to happen? Is this going to happen? And then nothing happens. Sometimes something happens, but most of the times you have anxieties and fears about stuff, and it just nothing happens. That's your lizard brain being hyperactive. So that being said, you can influence your lizard brain indirectly through, and the ancients, maybe some people could guess this in the stream, slow breathing. When you breathe slowly and calmly, and you do calm motions like this, you're sending, you got to practice this, but you're sending a signal back to your lizard brain to calm down. So you start feeling anxiety, take slow, deep breaths and give it time, relax. Think of something that calms you down, like the ocean or something, like my ASMR thing I put out there all the time. And do that, and you'll see, you'll start to actually calm down, because you'll be sending a signal to your lizard brain, or the lizard part of your brain, that to take it easy. I hope that helps. If you guys don't know, my major in university was psychology, but I am not a psychologist. But it was my major, so I know a little bit about that stuff. What is your opinion about learning Flutter for app development and future of PHP-based Laravel as backend? I think those are great combinations. I'm biased, though. If you look at PHP, it's always in the top 5 or 10 most popular languages. And since PHP only does server-side programming, it's probably still the most popular server-side programming language. A big part of it is because of WordPress, but also because of Laravel. Laravel is a fantastic full-stack framework. We use it for Studioweb. Been using it for years. It works really good. And Flutter, I was one of the first, when I saw it in alpha version or beta version, I took a quick look at it. And using my nerd skills, I said, that's pretty good. And apparently Flutter is very good, although I have no personal experience writing Flutter code. So I think those are good choices. What kind of hardware do you use for coding? Laptop, PC, CPU, RAM? I'm not a coder these days. I just manage the Studioweb project. I look at the code base every once in a while. That being said, I do write code on occasion. I use both. I have all the operating systems. I have Windows, I have Mac, I have Android, iOS, CPU. CPU is becoming less of an issue because I don't do compiled languages much, and even then they're so powerful. And RAM, I just try to get as much RAM as I can. But apparently with the new Mac architecture, the M1, not to sell it, apparently it's very efficient with RAM as well. So. Laptop, I believe, especially if you're a freelancer, you want to get a laptop so you're not stuck to a desk. I use an iMac because I use this mainly for business spreadsheets and stuff. Slack conversations with the devs and video work. So, if that makes any difference to you. What background on that sign-up page looks just like on this chat? Laugh out loud. Signed up too. Thank you. Yeah. There we go. That's it. That's me. With my 2 hairs left. Yeah. All right, so my hair kept with me for a long while, but it lost the race finally. Thanks for joining. I appreciate it. Again, I'm not going to spam you. Like, I've had this up for almost a year, and I've sent out like 3 newsletters. I plan on doing maybe 2 a week, maybe, but it's going to be exclusive stuff. I'll make it worth your while, trust me. How about a few more thumbs up to show Stefan some good support? Yeah, I appreciate that. The thumbs up, I never used to ask for it, but I should have, because apparently it helps with the algos. So the algos, YouTube sees the thumbs up. YouTube says, hey, this content is appreciated. Lets people know about it, which means that I am more likely to do stuff because I'm a glutton for an audience. Damn, cloud computing is about to get so much cheaper. Yeah, I would imagine so. That's a good thing. Thanks for the thumbs up, everybody. It is appreciated. What do you do? Oh, sorry. What do you of the web industry in 10 years? Is it gone, disappeared, or replaced by AI? I think it's going to be pretty strong. I think it's going to be. I think that the web tech, in some form or another, is going to continue to grow in dominance. It's going to replace a lot of traditional desktop. It's going to replace a lot of mobile. Not all, because there's certain things you're going to have to do native, but I think it's just going to get better. It seems like developer jobs range from free to 20 to FANG to an hour to FANG 200K, but I have to get past the algorithm interview. I'm a senior now, by the way. That's cool. Well, you can make 200K or 300K being a freelancer, by the way, without any damn algorithms or interviews. That's up to you, though. Sorry for the cursing. I signed up, but no confirmation email. Check your spam. Check your spam. I'm using a pretty big outfit, called Get Response. So check your spam box. Yeah, so if you do sign up for this newsletter with this guy here, just check your spam box and confirm that and whitelist the email. That would be good. How many versions of the same app would you consider saturated, i.e., counting, streaming of services, and new ideas diminishing? That's a very good question. You know what? I think it comes down to the quality of the application. We've seen, for example, many social networks come and go, and like at one point, MySpace was very dominant. At one point, Classmates.com was very dominant. You could argue that AOL was a social network in many respects. It was extremely dominant. It was the biggest. So things shift, and at a moment's notice, Facebook could be dead. It could die within a few years. Believe it or not, I've seen it happen before. You never know. And Zuckerberg is aware of that too. That's why he keeps buying up, he bought Instagram, bought WhatsApp, because he knows that's how it goes with those tools. So you could come up with a great idea that just has the right secret sauce that makes all the difference. But, that's, easier said than done. But I encourage you, if you have a real good idea, pursue it, man. Is using Mac same as PCs for .NET developer? That I couldn't say, but if you're on the Microsoft stack .NET, I would stick to Windows. There's no question about it. I haven't looked at it, but just out of instinct, knee-jerk reaction, yeah, I would stick to Windows. Stephen Zed, I would say 200K is average salary in Los Angeles for senior devs. So there you go. Of course, Los Angeles is a very expensive place to live. Why is everything highlighted? I don't know what he means. All right. The downside of VBA is that it's just for Microsoft applications. You really want to study general purpose programming language like Python, you can use that within more environments. Yeah, that's true. You got more flexibility with Python, but I have to tell you, VB is still one of the most used languages out there. And apparently, I was supposed to do a video on it. I just never got around to it. Microsoft released a new tech. Apparently, they opened up VBA, I think it was, so that you can really do some very powerful stuff with their spreadsheets, like very powerful stuff. You could already do pretty powerful, but then they've taken it to a whole new level. So I've been told. So that article suggests, rather. What else do we got here? All right, 170. Well, not bad. Let me try that one more time. I've spent the past 7 years as a front-end engineer. Should I try something different or keep doing the same? I have mastered the FE and enjoy it, but I don't want to get stuck in my career. Well, is your salary going up every year? That's one thing. You may want to dabble in some other areas, some back end, or maybe in the environment that you're in, maybe you can get really good at your UX, even better at your UX. I don't know where you are, but the more you know, the better off you are. You have more flexibility there. But if you like it, just get really good. Thoughts on 5G? How would it affect us? Again, 5G is it pushes the web stack even more, right? Because this is like websites will, you can download lots of information very quickly. So no, it's just going to accelerate the trend that I've seen. Okay. Flutter Mark, I stick to uncool niches like HTML email development. Hey, if it makes you money, WordPress devs, these guys, they print money because nobody wants to do it, but there's so much demand. Windows 10 is not fully supported yet on Apple and one laptop. Not yet, but as soon as Apple came out, to give you an idea how important that tech is, as soon as Apple came out with that, Microsoft announced they're going to be developing their own ARM chips and blah, blah, and a few other big players as well. So that's the future. It's the future. Should freelancers leverage sites like Fiverr to outsource a lot of the work? Only if you can manage that. Only if you can manage that. All right. Thumbs up. Hey, Stef, I hope you're doing well. Today I was searching through jobs to apply to, and I felt hit with a sudden thought of not knowing enough for the job. Any tips to get over this weird feeling? No, I would just start doing interviews, Just start doing interviews. When you go apply to do an interview, you got to research the particular employer that you're going to interview with. Make sure you understand what their business is all about, what technology they're using, and then make sure you're fairly comfortable with that technology, at least aware of it. You want to interview the interviewee, if you will, before you go in there. So you want to be prepared. I like it when I hire people, when they ask me good questions, and then it's about the business and about the technology. Then we're talking. I don't know what Dusk is. Friendster was popular before Facebook. It was, yeah. How can I hire a developer? My area barely have any developer. Freelancer can't deliver good results on site. Well, you got to establish relationships. You can maybe do with people overseas. Like my designer I've been working with, an UX guy I've been working with for many years. He designed the current Studioweb. He designed this whole thing, which I think is fantastic work. And he designed the original Studioweb from 10 years ago. I still work with him, and he's in California. So you just develop good relationships. And with Zoom and Google Meetups, the need to be in person with people, Have you tried any Indian, Pakistani dishes? I have. I've done some Pakistani food, but I really love Indian food. Tikka chicken, tandoori chicken, naan bread is one of the top 10 foods of all time. Naan breads, I love naan breads. I love Indian food. I love that. It's very good stuff. We have pretty good Indian and Pakistani population up here in Montreal. If you ever come to Montreal, we have tons of good food. Well, we used to before COVID, so I don't know what's going to happen after, but. Is knowing design patterns help in career development? Yeah, it is for sure, especially if you're going to work for other organizations with other people. One of the functions of design patterns, besides teaching you how to write good code, is to be able to communicate quickly and effectively with coworkers who should also know design patterns. So, by default, they say, we're going to use MVC for the basic structure of this app. And we're going to implement this module here vis-a-vis decorator pattern. Or we're going to implement this via microservices, et cetera, et cetera. So this way, you don't have to go into all kinds of painful description and detail to describe these fairly complex ideas like MVC, like a microservices pattern, if you're going to call it that, or like, I don't know, decorator, etc. I hope that makes sense. Analyst or developer as a fresher. I'm not sure what you mean by that question. Hey, Didi, how are you? Nice to watch at 5:30 a.m. when I can't sleep. I'm here to help. I put people to sleep all the time, so you should start sleeping like a baby fairly soon. Which Java platform is better off, Spring or Java Server Faces? Spring. I haven't looked at Java Server Faces in like a long time. Back in the day, it was a total disaster. I don't know how it is today, but back in the day, it was a total disaster. It was unbelievable. They talk like mega abstraction. What a disaster. But I haven't used it. Maybe it's great now. I don't know. But I think Spring is the king, right? Rod Johnson, inventor of Spring. We need more people to make more machines and more automated process. So I don't think there would be an oversaturation of developers or engineers. What do you think? Yeah, I agree 100%. I think the every so often economies go through massive changes. Last one was the 90s with the rise of the information age. Everybody got rid of their fish tanks and aquariums and started buying computers instead. And everybody started surfing the web. It was not just nerds on BBNet, and now we're about to start this whole new phase with the AI and robotics and maybe VR and AR. That's all just around the corner, starting to develop now. Like I said, AI kind of reminds me of the web in 1994, in terms of where it is in its development cycle. But I get the impression that AI is going to be slower to develop. Naan bread means bread. That's a good point. But I'm a Canadian who doesn't speak Hindi. So good point though. I stutter. Yeah, I love naan. I love Indian naan. There we go. That Indian bread's fantastic. Lizard Wizard, what do you think about Peruvian food? I've had it actually. I was down in Iquitos many years ago. It was good, but because there's bacterial differences between us and them, I didn't want to get sick. It's not a negative comment. I remember we had Peruvian business associate came to Europe, and he got violently ill because he couldn't handle the food. So that being said, I would have them supercharge cook the food for me. But I had like the delicacy. I had paiche back down in Iquitos. It was very good. Am I late to learn code at 26? Not even close. Jump on it. Hi, Stef from Nigeria. Hey, how you doing, man? Thanks for joining in. Must be late for you out there. Mango lassi is tremendous. Yeah. When you hire someone, what do you look for in the person? I look first calm disposition, good interpersonal skills, and of course good knowledge. Being able to write well, concisely. I want somebody who can get to the point very quickly. These are the things I look for, and most business people. Hey, how are you? What is the future of React Native, and how would I get an internship as a first-year CS student? I am Canadian but studying abroad. Well, just send out a bunch of CVs. Make sure the CV is concise, to the point. Do some React work. Tell me you've done some React work. Tell me when to learn. If you write concisely, professionally, show them a little bit of GitHub work. You'll crack something. I cannot overstate how important it is that you learn to write well and communicate well. Short, to the point, and that will serve you better than learning new languages. It will be out by the end of this month, I'll be releasing a whole bunch of videos. What's your? I have them. I have a bunch recorded. I just have to edit them and so forth. What's your main focus goal this year, Stefan? My main focus this year is to expand and improve the quality of the content that I put out for public consumption, like we're doing here, with the newsletter and so forth. I got some business stuff with Studioweb that we're working on. It's internal. And I got some stuff outside of the business, outside of the tech industry that I'm working on as well. That kind of stuff. A few other things. Would you jump in the ring with Mike Tyson if you were offered enough money? I would jump in the ring with Mike Tyson for free, just for the experience. Just for the experience. It was great. Of course, he would beat the hell out of me, I'm pretty sure. But I love to fight, and to get in the ring with that guy, I think he's, listen, he's got his problems, but he's one of the best technical fighters of all time, and it would be fun. I mean, he seems like he's got it together now, so I don't think he'd knock my head off too much, but I would go in for free. I would love to fight him. Sparring match, would be good. I might get in a few shots. Is coding while fasted a good idea? While fasted? I find after the second day of coding, of fasting rather, I get a much more clarity in my brain. Just drink a lot of water, maybe a little coffee. And I'm much more energetic. I'm much more lively. So yeah, but after that first day or so, when you first start fasting, it's tough. You got to get used to it. But after you've done it a few times, your body gets used to it, and it becomes very relaxing, believe it or not. Bro, they say this every year. Is this finally a year that coding jobs disappear? Nope. Yeah, that's it. Again, that has to do with that whole lizard brain fear I told you about early on in the stream. Our lizard brain unnaturally creates anxieties for us. Remember that. Next time you're feeling anxious or worried about stuff, remember that your lizard brain artificially magnifies potential threats, imagined or otherwise. And most of the time, nothing will come of them. Just keep that in mind. And breathe slowly and deeply, and the fears will fade. Stefan, yeah, 26 is plenty young still. There are examples of folks pushing 40 plus that are learning how to code and getting jobs. So yeah, I want to learn coding in Flutter too. No problem. You could start getting paid as a junior coder within a few months. I am really committed to it. Should I start with JS or SQL? JS. Start with the web stack. SQL is at the end of the stack. If you got I don't know if you got my curriculum, the Studioweb, the order in which the courses fall within the program are the orders you take. You do your HTML5, your CSS3, you do your JavaScript, you do your PHP, SQL, then you do a PHP and then SQL, okay? That's how you do it. You're never too old to code. I'm 60 and still putting out a couple hundred lines a day. There you go, fantastic. See what I mean? Just stay in shape. Just stay in shape, do some basic exercise, some weight training, don't get yourself into BMI, body mass index in line, etc. That helps. Start your career as a data analyst or web developer, which will be a good choice for grabbing first job. I don't know, look at your local job environment. If I'm biased, I go web developer, that's what I prefer, but look around, see what the local job environments. Let me remind you guys, I have this newsletter here. I launched it a while back, but I just was so busy. But I just sent out the first one in a while. I'm going to be sending out newsletters once every 2 days, once every 3 days, maybe. Not too much. You could unsubscribe, of course. I just want to have direct contact with you guys, so I become less platform dependent. And you're going to have exclusive content there, but you won't see publicly on YouTube. Okay. So yeah, sign up there. needtonerd.com. The link is in the description under the video as well. The person who designed your Studioweb, what soft skills and tech skills you like that you keep him doing your site for 10 years? Good question. First of all, I trust him because I've known him for 10 years, so I know he delivers. If you say you're going to deliver the code on Friday, deliver it on Friday. If you say it's going to take 20 hours to do, don't come back with 30 hours. You charge them for 20 hours. And I know that he does good work. And at this point, he's not only good with the aesthetics, he's good with the UX, user experience. He understands how to logically position things. I don't have to micromanage him. In 10 years ago, I had to be a little bit more on top of things in terms of telling, okay, do this, okay, place this here, do this, actually change that. It was that kind of thing. But now I just literally take out a pen and paper and I'll draw out stuff and I'll say, this is the color scheme, here's the font face, the primary font face, this is the imagery, this type of image I want to use. Have at it. And he comes back and it's like, 95% done. And that's because he's just really good now. It's just that communication, that professionalism. I can count on him, and that's what does it. Stefan's voice is ASMR. Definitely a good video to pass out with. There you go. Yeah. I used to have a site. I still have. My old site is called Killer Sites, and back in the day, people used to say I had a good ASMR voice. So I was going to have my. Here it is. See, since 1996, this is my first. Actually, I bought this from the previous owner in 1999, I believe. I registered Studioweb in 1998, but I had sites before that. My first site was in 94. But yeah, why did I get into that? Yeah, so I had killer sites and all these people, I had people telling me that they would listen to my instructional videos in the background to relax them. So I was going to come out with a video called Killer Soothing Sounds for killer sites. Anyway, I thought that was funny. Yeah, sign up to the newsletter. What did you have for breakfast? I had keto, K-E-T-O. I had a keto aligned breakfast. So I have these wraps made of cauliflower and egg, so no bread. I had egg, a little bit of bacon, lettuce, tomato. Yeah, that's what I had. And then I had Greek food for supper, mixed meat chopped with some Greek salad. Yeah. A little bit of cheese. What do you think about reuse same template to build various apps? If it works, why not? I'll budget to build. What's your opinion about Flutter, future Flutter dev, sir? I can't say what's going to happen, but I just know that tech is very well received. Worth tech. As Stef says, learn the fundamentals and learn it well, the rest will follow. Yep, pretty much. Jack Black, what do you think is the most interesting tech that will affect web development and mobile app development in 2021 and beyond? Thanks. That's a good question. Sophisticated server models, sophisticated cloud computing, sophisticated application deployment platforms. That's going to have the most impact by far. So VPSs and smart VPS, if you will. That is going to have it. Because in terms of the coding languages and the programming languages and the database, that's pretty static. It's pretty stable now. It's those server models. Web development versus data science, which is the best career path for a 38-year-old who has just completed an IT degree? I would just dabble in them a little bit and see which one you prefer. They are both very good in terms of money, since you have that degree, and see which type of development work or coding work, if you will, you prefer, and then go with that. You have to like what you do at the end of the day. How are we doing for time? All right, 54 minutes. So I'm going to be ending this at 1 hour because I'm meeting some friends for an online meeting. Meeting, just a get together. So I'll answer a few more questions. There you go. Yeah, tikka chicken. So good. So good. Lucas. What's Lucas? Everyone keeps saying that progressive web apps are taking over, but why every time I'm on Pinterest, PWAs keep asking me to install their actual native app? Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure why. But I know it depends. It's like, I remember I read an article with, it was Starbucks, yeah. When they deployed their mobile app via PWA, they switched to PWA, they said their usage went up 50%. I wonder why. There's probably several variables involved. All right, so that's pretty much it. I'll answer a few more simple ones. What motivates you to stream, record videos? I just enjoy it. It's like it is as much a hobby as it is anything else, in all honesty. Doing live streams, meeting people from all over the world. It's pretty good stuff, you know. Intermittent fasting, yes. Intermittent fasting is excellent. I'm 169 years old, exactly. I'm soon going to be 170. Don't afraid losing some braid beaten by Tyson. Nah. Well, I wouldn't want to fight Tyson in his prime, but I think he's kind of like a mellow, cuddly, soft Tyson now. So I think it would be just fun. I would do like for fun. Can you do informative video on how much you make on YouTube? Many people would love to know that. All right, so I'll give you a quick overview. So YouTube for me, I started doing YouTube a few years ago, seriously. I had a channel prior to that. I just had one of my assistants throw up a bunch of videos. But I really started looking at it a few years ago because I said to myself, I wanted to become natural in front of the camera. I wanted to become a better speaker. Also, I want to learn videography. I just found videography interesting. So that's the basis of this whole YouTube thing. So I started building it up, and next thing you know, 10,000 subscribers, 20,000 subscribers, 50,000 subscribers, 100,000 subscribers. And even long after I could have monetized, I didn't bother monetizing. So I turned on the monetization because I found out that if you monetize, then YouTube is more likely to promote your content because they want to make some money too, right? So I said, okay, I better monetize. And then I just got into the whole game of cameras and lighting and presentation style and so on. So that's just kind of fun. But I also found out as a sideline, and it was just an exercise to get comfortable in front of the camera. I also found out as a sideline, it was very good for business because a lot of people started seeing me every month. Now, this time of year on YouTube, it's like maybe 250,000 people watch my streams, my views a month. Then on the height, it can go up to 700,000 a month. And then I have other platforms like Killer Sites, my Killer Sites network, and the Killer Sites PHP, how to build a website. I haven't checked in a while, but they get a million or 2 million page views a month, depending, collectively. So there's a lot of traffic there. Yeah, so how much do I make? I make enough that you could pay a typical mortgage. There's no question about that. That's just with the YouTube money, the ads. I also get all the time, I get people wanting me to do ads for them. And I've done a bunch of ads you've seen in the past. I refuse 90% of them, 95%, 98% of them. So I get paid to do ads as well on occasion. And again, I do it for, why not? You know? Stef needs a new iPhone. I'll do an ad, right? And then, what is it? There's all these other places. So depending on the YouTuber and depending on the niche that they're in, they can make different levels of money. But it takes time. Apparently, the average YouTuber takes 22 months, nearly 2 years to get to 1,000 subs. So it's the first 1,000 subs that are hard. So anyway, I don't know. I hope that answers that question. So am I getting rich on YouTube? No. Can it pay a mortgage or pay for Porsches? It could pay for a Porsche. Yeah, it could, but it's not. It's not. You know. Yeah, it's a sideline for me. How often do you fast, Stef? I'm doing it like I do 18-hour fast at least once a week, sometimes twice a week. Sometimes I just forget to to eat. What are your tips to manage time while coding? Sometimes I don't realize that I'm coding for 7 hours straight. Well, you know, you let your brain tell you when you're getting fatigued or not. What do you have to say about Azure? I have not used Azure, so I couldn't say. Okay. Okay, last few questions because we're 1 hour here. Then we're going to jump into the ASMR boat trip. Hi, Stef. I worked for 10 months. I created a full classified ads website from scratch. Good job. And a mobile app. My product is a professional product, but first user to give me 1 star because no listings. Yeah, you have to build that up. You have to build that up. You gotta promote it. You gotta, you know, it's also when you're building apps, it's an iterative process. Meaning, when you get that first version out, that's the first version. Then you gotta get people using it, interacting with it, giving you feedback, and you're gonna keep changing it. So don't take that badly, especially if it's just your first user. You know, if you had 500 users giving you 1 star, then that tells you something. But 1 user, who knows? It could be they didn't like the logo, they didn't like the font, you know, or whatever. A whole bunch of reasons. But don't let that get you down. It's an iterative process. So I'll leave with this. With Studioweb, the original version I conceived of a decade ago, what we have now in terms of functionality, it's like the original version was maybe 60%, if that much, of what it is today in terms, you know, much has changed. Much has changed. Basic core functionality has changed to the extent that a few years ago, or it was a year or 2 ago, we had to do a rewrite from scratch because the code base got so mangled, Frankenstein style, from having to add changes and patch it all up to get it to where it needed to be so that the schools liked the product well enough. So that is normal. That's why I tell people when you're building a SaaS, software as a service business, or building any piece of software, you want to get it out as quickly as possible, dirty, rotten code. Why? So you can get it into the hands of the user, and then you really figure out what their use case really is. And then once you figure that out, then you write rock solid code. Studioweb 5 has very clean, solid code. But that's because we spent years figuring out the business model and the use case. So then once we had that down solid, then we were able to build a clean, beautiful, nice code base that was super clean and expandable because I really understood the needs of the application at that point. I hope that makes sense, guys. All right. Thanks for checking in. One last time, sign up to the Need to Nerd newsletter. I will not spam. You can unsubscribe very easily. And you will get exclusive content that I will not be showing anywhere else except for maybe the mentoring group. And that's about it. So I am asking you to sign up simply because I want direct connection with everybody. It's just better that way. Okay, so once again, thanks for joining. And yes, DD naan bread is amazingly tasty. All right, here's the ASMR. So if you're feeling anxiety, watch this video. I'll leave it on for about a minute or 2. It's very relaxing.